Syria, a land with a history stretching back millennia, a cradle of civilizations that shaped the world, and a crossroads where cultures, empires, and faiths converged. But today, when most people think of Syria, they think of conflict, civil war, and hardship. Yet there is so much more to this ancient land. Imagine a place where the first cities of the world emerged, where ancient empires rose and fell, and where human history has left its marks in temples, trade routes, and even in the people. Stay tuned as we delve into the complex history of Syria, a history that reaches from the earliest days of humanity to the turbulent modern era. Chapter 1: Origins and Ancient Civilization. Our story begins in the depths of prehistory. In what is now Syria, human settlements emerged as early as 10,000 BCE, making it one of the world's first places where humans settled permanently, mastered agriculture, and formed communities. This region, part of the Fertile Crescent, wasn't just a land of survival, it was a land of innovation. Imagine, long before the pyramids of Egypt were built, ancient Syrian people were cultivating crops, domesticating animals, and establishing social hierarchies. One of the earliest known cities in the region was Ebla, located near today's Idlib in northern Syria. Ebla became a major center of culture and trade around 3000 BCE. In Ebla's archives, archaeologists have uncovered thousands of cuneiform tablets documenting trade, law, and everyday life, written records that reveal a complex society. Ebla's reach extended far, trading with the Mesopotamian city-states of Sumer and Akkad, as well as with Egypt. Gifts from Egyptian pharaohs have been found among the ruins, showing the broad connections this city-state established. However, Ebla was just one piece of the puzzle. By the 2nd millennium BCE, other powers were rising. The Sumerians, Akkadians, Hittites, and later the Egyptians all fought for control over Syria's fertile lands and strategic location. Each empire left its mark. Ebla was likely conquered by Sargon of Akkad around 2330 BCE, marking a shift in control, and yet, the city re-emerged under the Amorites, a people who spoke a northwest Semitic language and integrated with the local population. Around 1800 BCE, cities like Mari and Ugarit began to flourish. Ugarit, in particular, is famous for giving us one of the earliest known alphabets. This was an innovation that would shape future languages, influencing the development of Greek and Latin scripts. Mari, situated near the Euphrates River, became a center for diplomacy and political intrigue. Its elaborate palace, with thousands of administrative records, reveals an organized state concerned with governance, agriculture, and even espionage. Throughout this era, Syria was not a single entity but rather a collection of independent city-states and territories, each vying for power, resources, and influence. These city-states were regularly invaded, absorbed, or allied with the great empires of Mesopotamia. Yet, through all this, the people of Syria maintained a distinct cultural identity, integrating various influences into their art, religion, and daily lives. Chapter 2: The Influence of Empires. As we move into the 1st millennium BCE, the world around Syria was changing. Larger empires began to exert their influence over the region, transforming it from a collection of city-states to a land governed by centralized powers. The Assyrians were the first to dominate, turning Syria into a province of their vast empire. The Neo-Assyrian Empire, which arose around 935 BCE, extended its control over Syria through a combination of military strength and administrative genius. The Assyrians were known for their fierce armies, and Syrian cities often fell under their control. But Assyrian rule wasn't just about conquest. They established trade routes, improved infrastructure, and implemented an administrative system that would influence future empires. Following the fall of Assyria, the Babylonians took their place, albeit briefly. Under Nebuchadnezzar II, the Babylonians managed to control parts of Syria, bringing with them new cultural influences, particularly in the realms of religion and architecture. However, it was the Persians who would come to define the region's next major transformation. When Cyrus the Great of the Achaemenid Empire conquered Babylon in 539 BCE, Syria became a Persian province. The Persians took a unique approach to governance, allowing local leaders to maintain some degree of control as long as they pledged loyalty to the empire. This policy allowed Syrian cities to retain their customs and even mint their own coins, which fostered a certain level of local identity under imperial rule. The Persian rule also set the stage for one of the most transformative events in Syria's history: the arrival of Alexander the Great in 333 BCE. After his decisive victory at the Battle of Issus, Alexander incorporated Syria into his rapidly expanding empire. Under his influence, Syria was Hellenized, or heavily influenced by Greek culture. Cities were restructured, temples were built in Greek style, and new cities were founded. After Alexander's death, his empire was divided, and Syria came under the control of the Seleucid Empire. The Seleucid rulers maintained Greek customs and promoted the use of Greek as the official language. They established Antioch, which became the capital and one of the most important cities of the Hellenistic world. Antioch was a melting pot, where Greek, Syrian, and Jewish cultures coexisted and interacted, creating a unique cultural blend. Chapter 3: Roman and Byzantine Eras. In 64 BCE, the Roman general Pompey entered Syria, marking the beginning of a new era. Under Roman rule, Syria was transformed into a prosperous province. Cities like Palmyra, Antioch, and Damascus became key trade centers, linking the Roman Empire with the distant East. Antioch, in particular, became the third largest city in the Roman Empire, only after Rome and Alexandria. With its theaters, baths, and temples, Antioch was a vibrant urban center. Roman influence extended to all aspects of life, from architecture to law. However, the Romans allowed a degree of religious freedom, which contributed to Syria's reputation as a land of diverse faiths. By the 4th century CE, the Roman Empire was divided, and Syria became part of the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine period saw the rise of Christianity, with Syria playing a significant role in the spread of the religion. Paul the Apostle famously converted on the road to Damascus, and Antioch became a central hub for early Christian thought. Syria's strategic location made it a target for neighboring empires, and in the 7th century, the Sasanian Empire briefly captured Damascus. This era of competition laid the groundwork for the next major chapter in Syria's history, the Islamic Conquest. Chapter 4: The Islamic Golden Age. In 634 CE, the Rashidun Caliphate began its conquest of Syria, marking the beginning of an Islamic era. By 640, Syria was fully integrated into the Islamic world. Under the Umayyads, who established Damascus as their capital, Syria flourished like never before. The Umayyad Caliphate turned Damascus into the heart of an empire that stretched from Spain to India. The Great Mosque of Damascus, known as the Umayyad Mosque, became an architectural marvel and a symbol of Islamic art. Syrian culture at this time was a blend of Arabic, Greek, and Persian influences, reflecting the diversity of the empire. The Abbasids, who overthrew the Umayyads in 750, moved the capital to Baghdad, but Syria remained an important province. The Arabic language, which had been promoted under the Umayyads, became firmly established during Abbasid rule. Syria's cities continued to be centers of learning, culture, and trade. Despite its prosperity, Syria was caught in the crossfire of Abbasid politics and power struggles. Different dynasties ruled parts of Syria, and the region saw several invasions, including the brief control by the Egyptian Tulunids and Ikhshidids. Chapter 5: Crusades and Mongol Invasions. In the 11th century, Syria faced the Crusaders, who came with the goal of conquering the Holy Land. The Crusaders established states like the Principality of Antioch and the County of Edessa, sparking decades of conflict. Syrian leaders like Nur ad-Din and Saladin fought back, uniting the Muslim world against the Crusaders. Saladin's reconquest of Jerusalem in 1187 was a turning point. Although the Crusaders held some territories, their influence waned. However, Syria was not yet safe. In the 13th century, the Mongols invaded, leaving a trail of destruction. Yet the Mamluks of Egypt, led by Sultan Baybars, successfully defended Syria, repelling the Mongol forces. The Crusades and Mongol invasions left lasting scars, but they also set the stage for a stronger, more united Syria. Chapter 6: Ottoman Rule and the Path to Independence. In 1516, the Ottoman Sultan Selim I conquered Syria. Under Ottoman rule, Syria was relatively stable. The Ottomans respected local customs and allowed religious communities to govern themselves to some extent. Damascus became a key stop for pilgrims traveling to Mecca, giving it a unique status within the empire. During the 19th century, European powers began to influence Ottoman policies, and Syria became a battleground for European interests. When World War I broke out, the Ottoman Empire sided with Germany, and Syria was drawn into the conflict. After the war, Syria was placed under French control, as per the Sykes-Picot Agreement. This Mandate period sparked nationalist movements as Syrians demanded independence. Chapter 7: The Birth of Modern Syria. Syria finally gained independence in 1946, but the journey was far from smooth. The new nation faced challenges from regional conflicts, internal divisions, and political instability. Coups and counter-coups marked the early years, as the country struggled to find its footing. In 1963, the Byzantine party took power, introducing a new era of socialist policies. This period saw the rise of Hafez al-Assad, who took control in 1970 and established an authoritarian regime that remains influential today. Assad's rule was marked by strict control, but also efforts to modernize Syria's infrastructure and economy. Syria's position in the Arab-Israeli conflict further complicated its politics, particularly regarding the Golan Heights. Chapter 8. The Civil War and Modern Challenges. In 2011, the Arab Spring protests sparked a wave of unrest in Syria. Calls for democratic reform quickly escalated into a civil war, as various factions vied for control. The conflict drew in foreign powers, each with their own agendas. Cities like Aleppo and Homs became battlegrounds, and millions of Syrians were displaced. The humanitarian impact has been devastating, with countless lives lost and ancient heritage sites destroyed. From ancient city-states to modern challenges, Syria's history is a story of adaptation. Its legacy lives on in the ruins of Ebla, the streets of Damascus, and the resilience of its people. As we close this journey, we're reminded that Syria is not just a land of conflict, but a land of profound cultural heritage, where each era, each empire, has left its mark. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating tales from history. If you enjoyed this video and want to dive deeper into the fascinating history of Syria, grab a copy of our detailed book version, link in the description. Packed with rich insights and captivating stories, it's a must-read for history enthusiasts.